Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Well, here we are a few days into a brand new year. Have you already broken one of your New Year's resolutions? I can't even believe I said that because it even hurts to say broken. I never want to use that word. Well, we're going to talk about those resolutions and why you may not be attaining them the way you expected to. Maybe you should look at all of this in a different way. And maybe you should get the support of an amazing life coach. Allison Cowan joins us from Purposeful Pathways Lifecoaching.com. Great to have you back, Allison. How you doing?
I am doing great. As always, it's a pleasure to be here with you, and looking forward to how we're going to roll today.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, and I think Happy New Year, because I think we I don't know when you should not say that. Maybe a week after, 7 days after New Year's. Maybe you're not supposed to. I don't know what the rule is.
I don't know what the rule is either, but it's only the 5th of January, and it's still early days.
Yeah. So I found this, and I want to share this as we get into keeping those resolutions and how to, and also looking at a different way. These are, I'm not going to do all of them, but the top 10 New Year's resolutions for 2023, according to a survey. A little interesting because out of the top 5, 4 of them are about health. Be healthier in general, work out more, eat better. So no surprises there. Number 1 on the list is save money. And interestingly, number 6, Allison, is try to be happier in general. I love that's actually on somebody's radar in terms of top New Year's resolutions. And number 8, fantastic, improve your mental health. So that's on somebody's radar to make that survey. Those are the top 10. But yeah, hopefully if people are looking at those as their resolutions, that they'll be able to fulfill those. But why do you think we don't? Why do we derail, somewhere along the line when it comes to our resolutions?
Well, first, I would love to bring up that quote. So every year, so there's a quote, and it's an unknown quote, so I don't know who it came from, but every year you make a resolution to change yourself. This year, make a resolution to be yourself. And I think it just changes perspective. And
yeah, like be your true authentic self. And the first thing I think of when I hear that is people around you influence you. So either they're holding you back or they're pushing you in a direction that you don't want to go in. I don't know if we start there, but that's the first thing that resonates with me. It's your surroundings that may not allow you to be yourself, in terms of, instead of trying to change yourself, just be yourself.
And there are ways that you can decide to make changes in your life and still be yourself. And, resolutions can actually be very good for us if they're gone about, in a healthy way. And like one of the first things, be yourself. So like the first things to think about, honor yourself, see your strengths and your beauty, and love yourself.
Yeah.
And then you're able to realize, well, what if I want to become more of that? What if I want to celebrate all of these abilities that I have and grow and shine more in the world? So rather than looking at what's wrong with me first, looking at what's right with me, and then making the choices um, with what area you would like to improve.
Hmm. It is so true because you walk by the mirror every morning, and what's the first thing you do? You look at all the faults, all the neg. Oh, look at this. I got one of those. I got this. I got that. Instead of looking at the total sum of you and saying, wow, you know what? There's some good stuff going on here. Things that maybe you want to improve, but we always focus on the negative instead of celebrating yourself. And yes, you have to love yourself. And I think a lot of people are afraid to even say that because it sounds so egotistical, you know, to say, yeah, I love myself, but you need to if you want to move forward and be your true self, right?
And it's acceptance. You're by loving yourself, you're accepting yourself. And it doesn't mean we're perfect, because everybody has, there are positive and negative sides to everyone. But choosing to look at the positive, then I just really think that there's more opportunities for succeeding. And researchers have found actually that there is something called the fresh start effect.
Do tell.
So it's, the new year feels like a new beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to have that feeling, well, I have a chance to start over. This is an opportunity for me to be more of who I want to be. And the choice about where you'd like to grow are individual. You mentioned those few in the beginning. It could be anything. It could be, maybe I want to learn a new language. It could
Mm-hmm.
be, you know, it could be anything. The possibilities are absolutely, absolutely endless.
Why do you think we're not our authentic self? Because I think, that goes back to the quote which you gave, and I think it's really powerful that maybe a lot of us are living lives that really aren't us. Like we get influenced or we think we should be a certain way, but then it's really not us. What do you think though? What's getting in the way typically? What do you think it is?
Um, and I think we've talked about this in the past, where we wear a mask, we put on a facade, so to speak, so that we believe we look good in the eyes of others for approval. And then we're living by someone else's rules instead of our own,
Mm,
and someone else's beliefs instead of our own. And, all of this is sounding great, but when it comes to resolutions, very often people will take on too many at one time. So
mm,
I'm going to have 5 New Year's resolutions. Um, or they're completely unrealistic. Um, and they're easier to make than to keep. And so falling back into old patterns is hard. And that could be the influence of others, because they may feel uncomfortable when you are changing.
hmm. Interesting point. Yeah. Yeah. And you don't want to rock the boat with other people. You know, some people just don't like conflict.
Yeah.
So they will be uncomfortable with you making those changes.
And it doesn't always have to be conflict. It's just like, whoa, she's doing or he's doing something different. And it bothers me. Like, you know, there may be some jealousy or envy that
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and I think we talked about like I think there's a difference between jealousy and envy. Um, Jealousy is when you really are you almost like upset that somebody else is growing or changing. Um, Envy is I want what they want. I want what they have. And that can actually be a healthy thing.
Really? Hmm.
Well, I mean, think about it. Um, I could be envious about um and I'm just going to keep it simple. I can be envious that you are so great at hosting these interviews. It doesn't mean I'm jealous. It means I would like to know what you do. So it can be have a positive spin.
Well, I'm flattered, and I'll share with you. I look at others in my profession and say the same thing. So I'm not even kidding. Even this morning, I was just getting out of bed and was looking at an Instagram feed of somebody who's been around a while, very well known. And I'm, you know what it is? I wouldn't say I'm envious of how they do what they do. I'm envious of their energy and how they move things forward. Yeah, you could look at anybody's, oh, look at the car, the house, the fame, the fortune, all of that, but it's more about the energy and the vibe that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and
when it comes to like the materialistic things, then I think it comes down more to jealousy. Yet, you know, I think that you're exactly right. How are they how are they doing what they do um so that they are successful? And I want to learn that. I want to know how.
I remember doing it. I can even tell you the years. It was early 90s. There was somebody that I used to listen to, and I was inspired by what he did. And it's funny because we became friends. He was in another state, but I could hear his radio show in my state, and we would actually share stuff, concepts and ideas. He's since no longer doing it, the older guy. Um, but it's I was inspired. That's my favorite word. It's not like you're copying. It's not anything more than just, the inspiration.
Yes.
What do I like about what they do? What do I like about what they do? And how can I apply it to what I do or my life? And it doesn't have to be somebody's profession. It could just be their vibe, the way somebody dresses. Could be just a friend of a friend who you met and you're like, yeah, that's pretty good. I like what
Yeah.
they got going
Yeah.
on over there.
Yeah. And sometimes a little envy pops up, but it's it's because there's something that you I don't know if revere about them is
Yeah.
the right word. Um, so so there's that. Um, and so okay, so we were kind of talking a little bit prior to that about um why people may fail.
Yeah.
And
And not even be their authentic self. And
yeah,
there's so many different reasons that I think of, but what you said, I think it rings so true, especially if you're in a relationship and they say that every 5 years we grow in a direction, different direction. more positive direction, or we reevaluate our lives at that point, and maybe you're moving forward, and then other people in your life aren't moving forward, so they're going to look at that and either be jealous or envious. And if they're jealous, then you may adjust yourself because you don't want to deal with it. And then there's that becomes conflict, and eventually you feel that you can't grow. You can't move in the direction that you want to move in. Um, that's what the divorce is for, unfortunately, in many regards. But yeah, and it doesn't even have to be a close relationship. It could even be your friends. I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you. Very close friend, very a deep thinker. We worked together many years. She went in a different direction. I felt that one day she was going to go in that direction. And I don't know what it was, but right after midnight on New Year's, I just got this premonition dropped out of the sky. And I was just, and we had text recently about getting together, and I invited her out. Hey, let's get together and kind of reconnect and everything. It just hasn't been happening. And it's on her. And I just said, for a number of other reasons, and I unfriended her on Facebook and Instagram, and that it's almost as if that's a closure where it's like, gonna move that aside because no longer serving. And I've had the conversation before. I can even tell you, what month, and in two years ago, had that conversation about how you're, aligning yourself with certain people that I don't align myself with. And she was, no, 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 it's not that. I love you too, but it just doesn't serve you anymore. So it's time to move forward, because if you don't, then you can't move forward.
And, like one of the bright sides of having or creating a resolution, could be that, you're clearing away things, and that by doing that, you're actually reframing your thoughts and beliefs, your mindset, and then more opportunities become available to you. So
I love what you just said there. It is so true. And I almost feel that way. Like, I feel the not so good energy from that person and maybe others just sitting there. And it's like, we don't even hang out. We don't even talk. Every once in a while, a little text here and there. It's like, yeah, it's just like, move that to the side. Doesn't mean it may not come back to your life, because they may make a change and make a realization, and then you align again, and then it's all good. But for now, yeah, go over, put you over there. I vacuumed. I vacuumed, cleaned things up. I know what it is. And I did.
So I'll stick you in my little vacuum bag, until I'm going to save that vacuum bag, and
hey, I'm not going to throw it out just
the
yet.
Will pop out of the vacuum bag.
It is. And I'm not even kidding, because that was shortly after midnight on New Year's, and then when I set my goal, I'm with the help of a friend, and she was wonderful. We cleaned my office and studio and everything. So needed to get done. Couldn't do it alone because I, just didn't purge the way, I should. But we vacuumed for the first time forever. It was like, so that's it, got to vacuum.
Great metaphor. I love it. I love it. So steps for success are just remembering that whatever you choose, it's going to take time. And starting with really small steps. Because if we try to do too much too fast, it becomes overwhelming. We become discouraged, and then we stop. And the other thing is focusing on one goal. And, and being as specific about that goal as possible. And I'm sure many people have heard of SMART goals, where it's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So an example might be, rather than saying, I'm going to lose weight this year, a reframe of the thought is, I will lose X amount of pounds within this amount of time, or I'm going to choose to, like, one step might be, I will choose to make one healthy choice, and exchange out one unhealthy choice for a healthy choice, and do that until that feels comfortable. And then perhaps it moves down to portion control. And, so there are these small steps that get you to where you would like to be.
I love
Uh,
one word that you just used there a second ago, Allison. Choose. Because we all have choices. Everything you do, every single day, every second of the day, you make a choice. That's down to breathing. All right, we don't make that. That's automatically done. But everything else, you make these choices. And even in your language, if you reframe it to say, I'm going to try to lose 10 pounds. No, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. Not just try, focus on you are going to do it as if
and
it's
then
happening.
what are the small steps that, you're going to take to get there?
Yeah.
Um, and then, and one little thing at a time. So planning, that's when it comes to planning,
Yeah.
and planning out in a very detailed way the tactics that you are going to take to get, so that you have strategies so that you are on your path. If there's no plan, then you have no idea what will happen if there's a setback, because there will be a setback. There's always a setback. So if there's a setback and you have no plan, you're not going to be able to keep moving forward.
It's like
And
somebody walking and the setback comes along, and that's somebody just grabbed the rug. And what do I do? I didn't have a plan. I just landed on my back or my butt and like, oh, now I'm injured, whatever. If you had a plan, you might fall a certain way when that rug got pulled. I,
but then
what
you
you're,
just get back on.
right. But what you're saying is so true that you need to have even if it's losing 15 pounds, whatever it is, a detailed plan. You have to. You can't just say, I'm going to do it. And maybe reasonable goals. I'm going to try and do, 2 pounds a week, whatever it might be. How are you going to do it? I'm going to start eating this. I'm not going to eat that. I'm going to have one cheat meal a week, whatever it is. But it should
Yeah.
be, think of it this way. If somebody starts a business, they have a business plan, how it's going to go, how finances are going to be, how all of it. It's all, documented. Like, how do they build a house? Guy doesn't show up with a hammer and some
Yeah,
nails.
yeah,
There's a
yeah.
blueprint that's all followed to make sure everything is orchestrated and the house gets done. There's got to be a plan. Yeah, you're 100% right. And I think that's probably one of the main reasons why we all fail at resolutions because we didn't have a plan.
And actually writing down your goal and actually making a list of obstacles
Hmm. Okay.
that get in the way, so that you're prepared
Right.
when they show up. And um, and again, limiting. Um, and studies have shown that one goal at a time, you're able to focus your energy and not spread yourself too thin. And then as you're going through these small steps, each of those small steps is building you up
Yep.
so that you want to continue to succeed. So you're chunking into small parts with the idea of long-term success, and the sustained efforts is what gets you the results.
I just had an acronym pop in my mind. It's kind of bizarre, but accept the small steps because if you don't, then you are a ASS. Accept the small steps. And but it's true.
Or B, yeah.
But it's true. And
I love it.
I can even apply it to my life because I said I mentally set a goal, didn't make a plan. I didn't do an Allison. I should have made a plan of how I'm going to take better care of myself. And I look back over the last couple of months and I said, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that and you didn't. But then I thought about it and then I said, but you did do this and you did do that and maybe you didn't do all of it, but I did make the small steps. And I'm accepting the small steps because it's all part of the journey. But in my mind, I just look back as, 2 months as a whole and think, ran down to dumb things like, routine blood test every year. Well, where's the script for that? On my sun visor. Never got to it. And it was like, I'm going to do it tomorrow. Never did. But I did do these other things. And those small steps get you to where you want to be, but you have to accept that.
And just remembering this is a New Year's resolution. Let it take a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is for you. You are keeping the roots of who you are. Because that, we talked about being yourself. So you still have that, your roots, but the branches can grow.
Yeah. And to your point, to close here, that we talked about every 5 years we reevaluate our lives and to make changes. And they've researched this. It always comes back around to the same thing. I think we mentioned it once before, but usually it takes 2 years to implement the change. So after 5 years, you reevaluate, I want to do this. I'm looking at that, maybe change this relationship. Before you pull a trigger on it, especially with relationships, it usually takes 2 years. So there's these small steps. And it's funny, the example I gave of the person that I defriended or unfriended, guess what? That conversation I had with them was just about 2 years ago. And look where I am. Just thought of that. You make me think, Allison.
Well, and growth is an interesting thing because we may grow and transform, but then want to continue. So, for some people, it's just a constant life, the way they want to live life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to say, I have had a lot of issues with my website being transferred. It is not working. However, my Instagram is at Allison Cowan Life Coaching. And there is all of this in an Instagram carousel. And in the notes, there is a link. If you paste it in, it will take you to Canva. And it's a two-page
Graphic or document?
Graphic and and it takes all of the steps.
So wow. Okay.
We just talked about is there's a place to write it out and you can download it. And
awesome.
And I apologize. I am doing everything I can with the website, but hopefully it's not going to deter from
sure
people.
Well, you have your email address. What's that? Can we reach you there?
Yes, and it is Allison, Allison Cowan, Cowan at Purposeful Pathways lifecoaching.com.
Awesome. Well, if somebody missed the Instagram thing that you just mentioned, then you could just email you and you can,
Yes.
send it back. And regarding your website, don't sweat it because we're in a Mercury retrograde. I don't know if you're aware of what they are, but
I have heard, yes.
got another 2 weeks.
Technology wax out. Yeah.
Got another 2 weeks. So, tap the brakes. Life happens. Allison, always great talking with you, and the insight is amazing. You make me think, so I got to believe you make a lot of us think, about life in general and moving it forward. And if somebody wants to do that, just email you and start that journey together.
Yes. And I am actually offering 2 free 1-hour sessions, whether it's added onto a package or if somebody is just curious. So they will not only get the 2 free sessions, but the complimentary discovery call. And this is something that I believe, because it's the new year and a topic that I'd like to talk about next week, where I think people really do need, this is when they start needing. And, just to kind of give a little bit, it's holiday stress versus post-holiday letdown.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Totally.
And that is why I'm offering this. And, spots are limited. So.
Yeah, take advantage. Yeah. Oh, it's great to know that you're there. You have the passion and you want to help people. It's great talking with you, Allison. Look forward next time we get together.
Same here, Steve. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.